All right, everybody, welcome again to Baxter County Roundtable. This is episode 16. We have one of our favorite guests tonight, and that's Scott Lyles, who's a city clerk. We're also going to have, if everything goes as scheduled, Jason Nazarenko is going to be with us remotely, and we'll talk about some various things with him. But in the meantime, my name is Joe Bryant. I'm a Baxter County resident trying to learn about our government, what's going on around the area, and we've got Scott Lyles here to help us with some of that. Scott, you want to tell us who you are and what you do? And
Sure. Thank you, Joe. I'm Scott Lyles. I'm your Mountain Home City Clerk. I'm one of 3 elected officials, the mayor, the city clerk, the city attorney. We're sort of the executive branch, if you think about like executive, legislative, judicial. The city council itself would be kind of the legislative end of that, and then your courts would be the judicial end of it. City clerk's duties, I'm sort of the go-between between the mayor and the city council. I keep track of a lot of city documents. I set a lot of the agendas, a lot of the paperwork. I'm sort of the connective tissue between all the different branches.
like I always like to say that you may not want to hear necessarily, but you're the main cog in the wheel. That's my spiel.
There you go again with that. You're going to get me on that eventually. We're just the clerks are busy behind the scenes, really pushing all the cities forward. That's kind of the way it is. They handle a lot of the paperwork and kind of make everything run on time.
Now, when people call the city during normal business hours, are you the guy that they're calling, or is that generally?
You can. When you call, you're going to go to a big phone tree. I know everyone loves those. I'm one of the spots there. The mayor's office is on there. Building inspection's on there. My direct office number, 870-232-5057. You can call if I'm not in. It'll go to voicemail, and I can get back with you.
And tell us about your daily activities, if you would.
You know, it's something that a little bit different every day. There's a lot of note taking. There's a lot of report writing. I handle the minutes, the city council meeting. I prepare all the packets for that. So there's usually some legwork involved, getting everything together, getting everything presentable. You also answer any questions from the people in the city. Had several questions today about yard signs for events. Was able to take care of that. Just sort of odds and ends. You always get questions about what kind of pet can I have? Do I have to have a permit for this? Do I have to have a permit for that? Just really, you're a little bit like a public information officer. That's kind of what I tell people. You know, you're sort of the first stop on the information superhighway for a lot of people there.
You probably know that we had a pretty big event.
Yes.
I believe it was Friday.
Yes, sir.
The Charlie Kirk vigil. I know a girl named Morgan. I forget her last name, but she did most of the heavy lifting of that. But did you have any participation or involvement in that?
I did not know. No, they. I know Jay called and asked about using the stage, and so you need to talk to the mayor's office. They're going to be the ones in charge of that. But
okay,
that's as far as I went with that. But I actually had another commitment that night, but I did watch a lot of it on Facebook, and I was really impressed by the turnout. It was really something to see.
Yes, it's amazing what effect this guy has had on every nationwide and possibly worldwide even. But anyway, oh yeah, Morgan Dawson. That's the girl that did the heavy lifting on that project. So what else is going on in Mountain Home that we might be interested in?
I'm just here. I'm going to give you kind of a quick little recap. I think it's been about a month and a half since I've been on. I went back, looked at the agendas, some of our previous meetings, made a couple notes about some of the stuff we've enacted, some of the stuff we've passed since then. Just going to run through it really quick. If you have any questions, jump in. If anybody at home has any questions, just give me a call at the office. I can walk you through it. I can email you copies of everything. Since the last time I've been on, we've completed an update to the commercial facade regulations that the city has. If you have a commercial building here in town, there's only certain facades you can build on the fronts and the sides of those buildings.
Now, is that for new stuff, or is that?
It's new stuff, or if it's old stuff that you're renovating.
Okay.
So
old stuff that's not being messed with at all.
If it's just static, no, it's fine. But yeah, once you go in and you start renovating it, you renovate the exterior, the roof or something, that's going to cause you to get caught up to the new standards.
Okay.
The biggest change in that, under the old regulations, you could not have concrete facades, a vinyl facade, or a metal facade with exposed fasteners.
Who comes up with these? Where do these regulations come from?
They come from the Planning Commission. They come from the Planning Department. They come from City Hall.
So it's local.
It's local, yeah, and most cities have some sort of regulations about that. That's
Okay.
and the thinking on that was, the big thing was the metal with exposed fasteners. We didn't want your commercial building to look like a barn, basically. You know, that was the kind of the thing we were seeing years ago, and so we passed the old commercial facade regulation that said you can't have that, but you could come to the Planning Commission and get a variance on that. You know, the metal with exposed fasteners, there's been a lot of improvements in those the past 10 years or
Yes.
so. And, you know, a lot of them now, you can't even see that they're exposed until you get right up on them and you get to looking at them. I mean, it's not the old silvery zinc,
And
screws and
they
studs.
actually look pretty good.
And they look
that's-
really
that's
good,
what-
yeah,
That's
yeah.
what this is all about, basically.
It's an aesthetic, it's an eye appeal kind of thing. But we have been granting waivers for those if it looked good, and you would have to go to the Planning Commission to get that approved. The Planning Commission meets once a month. To get on that schedule, you got to get in about 2 weeks before they meet. So if you miss that deadline, you may just be on the sidelines for 6 weeks or more. So what we did, the new regulation facade, basically it allows that concrete, vinyl, or the metal with exposed fasteners. The planning department itself will now give you that permission. You don't go to planning, you don't go to the planning commission, you come to City Hall, you talk to the planning director, you talk to the building inspector, you bring a sample, this is what you want. They'll sign off on it, so you can go ahead and get started on it. So
Okay.
it keeps a lot of the same stuff, it just cuts out some of the paperwork where you're stuck in a holding pattern for a month and a half. You know, the thing we had trouble with was you were building a commercial building out here and something came up with your facade and all of a sudden you can't build on it for a month, month and a half.
Project has to stop.
Everything has to stop until the paperwork goes through. So the idea is just kind of to streamline this, make it a little bit easier for everybody.
Good,
So,
good.
We're there at City Hall Monday through Friday. That's a lot more responsive than the Planning Commission meeting once a month.
Gotcha.
So, kind of hand in hand with that, we also updated our landscape regulations. Basically, what had happened, the old regulations required your new commercial buildings to have 3 feet of green space around the sides of the buildings. What we had found was a lot of your bigger retailers, your big box stores, they want their sidewalks to go all the way up to the front and the sides of the building. And a lot of that's an ADA requirement. That's Americans with Disabilities thing.
What is a green space?
Just a plot of green grass.
Grass or flowers or what?
grass, flowers, something
Where
like
things
that.
can grow.
But yes, but the trouble we were having was we were butting heads with ADA compliance on that, because ADA wants sidewalks that go all the way around the building, into the building. And kind of like we had with the facades, we've been granting variances for that when a new big box retailer would come in. And instead of requiring that and it just not really working out, even when you had the green space, people just walk through it. They don't really, it doesn't get maintained like it's supposed to, and people trample on it anyway. So we've eliminated that 3 feet of green space. You still have to have green space elements. You still have to have trees in the parking lot, trees on the side of the property. You could have planter boxes hanging up on the walls. You just don't have to have that green grass right there at the corner of the building like you did.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I know we had several questions. I had several people call the office. They were concerned about losing a lot of the other green space. You know, you got to have some planters and trees in the parking lot for so many parking spaces. Trees lining the edges of the parking lots. All of that's going to stay. The city is still very committed to making something be very aesthetically pleasing. It's not going to be just a concrete and asphalt hellscape. We're going to make your property look good, and it's going to be eye appealing. We're just not going to have that green grass right up to the side of the building.
Now, this is strictly for new or?
This is new, or you renovate it.
Okay.
You get a new roof. You know, something's already there. It's going to be there. But if you go in, you start changing it, then it's going to trip the new regulations on it.
Okay. That's good for, a lot of people probably aren't aware of that.
Yeah, and those are commercial regulations that don't apply to your house. You know, that was one thing we had with the commercial facades was I think we had some council members that thought this would apply to you building a house and this would dictate, no, you can, if you want to have metal with exposed fasteners and look like a barn, God bless you, you can do that, but you can't operate a business out of it looking like that. That was the big
Okay.
distinction.
But there are possibilities that can be adjusted, that rule.
Yeah, that could be adjusted, but I mean, I don't think we have any real restrictions as far as residential goes. I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty much up to the developers building the lots and everything. We also updated our fire code. We now require that alarm and security companies submit inspection reports to us electronically. We had passed an ordinance about 6 months ago, requires basically the companies, they have to come in and get a permit and follow some other regulations when they install like an alarm system or a sprinkler system or something. And we had sort of assumed that you would just give us your reports, you install it, and you test it, and you make sure it's okay. To me, it was kind of a no-brainer. You just turn over the report to us. We had one out-of-town company who just point-blank refused to give us their inspection reports. They were like, no, you've got to have it in writing in your ordinance. So this is what we did. We kind of called their bluff on it and said, okay, so, but that's just, it's paperwork for the fire department, the fire marshal. It's something they need to keep tabs of.
Now, is this for commercial or are we talking just in general?
Probably just in general, I think. I'd have to go back and read it. I don't think it makes a distinction really on what the zoning is. Basically, it's just for fire alarms, fire suppression systems, sprinklers,
Okay.
that sort of thing. The fire marshal needs to know what's going on. He's got to go out and inspect that as part of that installation process.
Okay.
And another part of that is after it's installed, they got to test it and they file a report with that. And that's kind of what this addresses is we had one company that just refused to give us their reports. They were just being obstinate about it. Yeah, they were like, no, we want it in writing in your regulations that you have to have it. So we said, okay, here you go. So nothing like writing laws to address one business in particular. That's the way it goes sometimes. Council also approved a request. We now require the use of the Arkansas 811 call before you dig program, before you dig in Mountain Home. It's kind of a weird thing. That's a state requirement. You're supposed to be doing that anyway. If you go, you tear up your yard and you strike a gas line, a fiber optic line, telephone line, anything buried in the ground like that, you would be responsible for the damage to that. The state could charge you for violating that, but the state is the only one who could do that. The Attorney General's office basically would have to come out and give you the ticket on it. By adopting this, basically this gives the city itself the option. We can now give you a ticket for that. And probably more importantly than the ticket, we can hold up your other permits for stuff until you make that restitution and you cover the damage.
Now, if somebody called for 811, I'm going to assume that they check for all
811,
electric.
you call 811, they send everybody out. Yeah, water, electric, utilities, everybody comes out, everybody marks their stuff.
And how quick do they get to you, generally speaking?
They're supposed to get out within like a week. And I've kind of heard some horror stories that they're really understaffed and sometimes that kind of drags. You may end up having to call them back, kind of jump on them maybe to get somebody out there. But yeah, if 811 comes out and they mark where the lines are and you start working elsewhere and you hit a line, you're not going to be responsible for that. And that happens. I mean, sometimes it just kind of gets away from you and you don't know.
Accidents do happen.
Yeah, you don't know, there was an old line here and that's what it was. But you are supposed to required, you think, well, before you build a house or something or do a major project, yeah, you'd call it. Really, anytime you break ground, you really need to be thinking about calling 811. I didn't think about maybe just installing like a swing set or something, but you're going to be out there probably digging some pretty deep post holes with a post hole digger. And if you're not careful, you could clip something and all of a sudden, yeah,
and
you've
it
got
breaks loose and you
breaks loose and
got
yeah,
problems.
you got problems.
Oh,
and
boy.
if it's a gas line or something, that's it's an inconvenience anytime a utility gets clipped and disconnected. Now, if it's a gas line or an electric line, you've got some more serious public safety concerns going on there as well.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Just a little spark and everybody's
Oh,
got
yeah,
problems.
yeah. So basically it requires, if you're in the city, you need to be calling that and just
Okay.
thinking about that.
Good idea no matter where you are, I suppose.
Yeah, and this came about because Black Hills Energy contacted us. Between us and Harrison, you think about the three counties here, Baxter, Marion,
Boone.
Boone. There you go. I just slipped my mind. I kept on calling Pope. No, that's Russellville. Between us three counties, the incidence of lines getting struck and disturbed is 3.5 times what the state average is.
Wow.
So there's a lot of people in this area that's going out and digging without even bothering to call and check in to see where the lines are. So,
Can be a big problem.
it can be a big problem. Yeah, just use 811, call before you dig. It's a free service, and they'll get out to you, and then you'll be covered. So.
Okay.
At this last city council meeting, we did approve a 2 mil property tax for 2026. That'll be assessed in 26. It'll be collected in 27. The 2 mills it's kept the same. I've lived here 9+ years. It's been 2 the whole time. I think it's been probably 15, 20 years beyond that. So, your schools get so much millage. Your cities are allowed up to 5 mills. We take 2. I don't think we've touched it. A lot of your smaller towns around, they do the full 5 mills because it's just...
Do you have a good, simple explanation for what a mill is?
A mill is 1/10%, and it's based on your assessed property value for your home.
Okay.
So if your home's worth $100,000, you're going to get me in trouble. I'm starting to do math
Okay,
now.
well, you don't have to get that
it's
in the
it's a
weeds,
fraction of that, so it would be, I think... 0.1%, I think it would be $1 on a $100,000 home.
Okay.
So something.
It's not huge.
Yeah, no, your schools are your biggest millages because they have like 30, 40 something. Your towns are only allowed up to 5. That was by state statute. We do 2. Each mill here in town will generate about $200,000 for us, so it's about $400,000 of revenue that comes off of it. In your smaller towns around here, you may do the full 5 mills and get $30,000 off of it. That's part of that's just property value. It's the size of your city, that sort of thing. We kept it at 2. We've not really had any serious discussions on raising that or anything, and I don't think we would. So we also sold a piece of property that is owned by the city that's adjacent to the Dr. Ray Stahl soccer complex out on Highway 5.
Okay, yep.
We sold that to Arctic Heating and Cooling, which is right there along Highway 5, kind of backs up against it. It's a real sliver of a piece of property. I think they said it was like 11,000 square feet. It's like less than 1/4 of an acre. It's an undeveloped lot. It's got a cement slab from a former storage building on it. Arctic is right next door to it. They're wanting to kind of rebuild that storage building, keep some equipment in there. Honestly, you couldn't even tell the city owned it if you went out and looked at it. It looks like it's Arctic Heating and Air's side yard is what it is. They've maintained it for several years. We agreed to sell it to them for $5,000. It was such a weird thing. We didn't put it out to bidding. We decided to waive bidding on it because it's such a small piece of property and so unusual. We couldn't really imagine somebody else would be interested in purchasing that. There's no utilities on it. It's a concrete slab. That's all it is.
Just makes sense.
Yeah. So, but Arctic has been interested in it for about a year, and so we finally kind of put everything together to sell it to them.
Okay.
Going forward, council's going to meet next week. We meet the 1st and 3rd Thursdays of the month at 5:00. So far, we have a really light agenda for the next meeting. Next meeting will be October the 2nd. We're going to vacate an undeveloped street easement that's in front of the old El Chico property. That's where the Aldi's is going in there. And we're also going to abandon a utility easement that runs across the middle
Now,
of that property.
that's all in the village, in the city limits? The
Yes.
Aldi's?
Yes, Aldi's is in the city limits. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And they'll be opening, what, next week? I think people are pretty excited about Aldi's coming.
With this undeveloped road easement, when they built that original road there, they got off of the original road easement by a couple degrees. And so you end up with this little sliver of land on the Aldi's side that technically the city still has an easement on, but we're not using it. We're not going to use it. And the Aldi's management wanted us to get rid of it. Basically, that's an Aldi's corporate thing. That's not anything that really the city's doing. Aldi's has purchased the old El Chico lot, and there's that big undeveloped lot back behind them. They're combining that into one big lot. That's going to be where your Aldi's is. There's an undeveloped utility easement that runs between those two lots. We're abandoning that so they can combine that. You don't want to build the store over a utility easement. That'd be a recipe for disaster. So that's what that is. One little wrinkle with that, we're going to have a public hearing on that starting at 4:55 next Tuesday, October the 2nd. We've got to have a public hearing before we abandon any sort of easement. So if you want to come to the meeting, get there a couple of minutes early. We'll open the floor up.
And where would that be, at City Hall?
It'll be there at City Hall.
Okay.
And Ted Sanders, the attorney handling it, he'll just explain, this is the property. We'll have a map on the overhead you can look at. And the whole thing will be in and out. I mean, we should probably start the meeting at 5, no problem, unless there's somebody who shows up and has...
More than likely it'll be uneventful.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Aldi's owns that property, so they don't have a problem with it. So I can't imagine there would be anything else with it. So Paul Neal from the Baxter Day Service Center is also on the agenda. He's going to come talk to the council. Over the past, the city's helped the service center. We've given them some money. We've given them some trucks. I'm not sure exactly what Paul is going to be talking about. I know they were doing the recycling and they stopped that. I don't know if that has anything to do with this or not, but he called and asked to be on the schedule. So he's on the agenda to come talk to us.
Okay. Anything else earth-shattering?
That is pretty much it. It's kind of slowed down. City business always slows down over summer because everybody starts going on vacations and family trips. And then once you get back and the summer starts ending, today's the first day of fall, by the way. Once you get back in, you start kind of thinking about, we'll start working on next year's budget. That'll be coming up here in a couple months. We'll have it kind of squared away. And we just kind of go from there on it.
All right, Scott. Well, I guess that's about it for you.
Yeah.
Unless
yeah.
you have anything else you want to add.
Let me just do a quick plug here. Council meets the first and third Thursday. There's a half dozen councils and commissions that meet throughout the month. I keep a master schedule of it. I email it out. If you're interested in getting a hold of that or getting on the mailing list for the meeting agendas, the packets, or anything, give me a call at my office, 870-232-5057. I'll get your name, your email address. I can get you signed up for it, and I'll give you all sorts of information on it.
All right, Scott. Well, thanks for coming. We really appreciate it. You're one of our favorite guests, and we sure hope you come back.
Oh, I'm happy to come out. I'm glad y'all have me. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm glad. I'm really glad to have the main cog in the wheel. So,
You always butter me up really good. That's always nice about coming.
no, we
here.
we appreciate you being here. Thanks.
I appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Okay. Now we're gonna have Jason Nazarenko, and he's gonna be remote. I don't know if he's in Little Rock. Jason Nazarenko is state rep for what district, Jason?
District 4.
District 4. I'm not gonna. You can give us the boundaries if you want. I don't know.
So District 4 is all of Marion County, and then we like to say Southern Baxter County. So kind of outside of the city limits for Mountain Home, goes all the way up to Norfolk, and Bull Shoals is on the left. So right there on that river split, the lake area, you've got Bull Shoals as Marion County, and then Lakeview, obviously Baxter County. So that's kind of where that split is.
And would you like to give the audience any of your contact info?
You bet. Contact's always listed online. My cell phone's listed right there, but it's 931-627-5056. And the email is just jason.nazarenko@arkansashouse.org. Always welcome any kind of messages, anything I can help you with, or get you connected with anyone. I can always do that as well. So feel free to reach out.
Again, welcome. We always enjoy chatting with you. I mean, there's so much to talk about now. I don't even know where to start. And I don't know what your intent was for coming here.
So what we're gonna do a follow up on is the event that happened Friday night in Hickory Park.
That's the big news of the day.
So
yeah.
the Charlie Kirk vigil. And Russ, I'll let you start off if you want.
Well, it was the interesting part about that was the fact that a week ago today, we found out about that. I think Jay saw something on Facebook.
Someone messaged us on Facebook asking if we could help out with this vigil, and I found out who was trying to get it started, which was Morgan Dawson. Reached out with her, had a nice little conversation with her, and offered my promotional experience to her, and we had a discussion on what she needed, how everything would go.
And then you invited her on last week's podcast.
Yep. And then
And-
that
and-
day she comes on our podcast, and we talked about it a little bit. And literally, we have a little sound system here. We threw everything together that we could do to do it, and she planned a bunch of stuff and had a bunch of people. And we want to have a discussion today on how many people it takes to run an event like this, how our community came together and made a really nice, successful event, how the churches got involved in it, and where it goes from here, I guess.
Well, and also, a big shout out to Morgan Dawson, who she's never done this before. And, it's just a testament to, the area that, hey, get involved. You can do it. You can do it. I mean,
Well,
she's very young.
24-year-old stepped up, wanted to try to do something, didn't know how to do it, how to make it happen, and it happened.
I have major congratulations for what she did. It was
Yep,
pretty awesome.
absolutely. Actually, I think, Jay, you've got a list there. I think it's important that we let the community know just how many people were involved, not just in the putting it together, but the planning that went into it. In just a very short period of time, there were a lot of people stepped in to help Morgan actually plan this. Okay, you get this, we'll get this, and all the moving parts there. So if you would, do you want to just kind of go through that list?
I asked Morgan to make me up a list of anybody who helped out. The problem with the list, there's going to be people we're going to miss because we did put on Facebook too. If we were looking for water, ice, coolers, different things like that, and people step forward, and I'm not going to remember who all those are. So I apologize right off the bat for them, but for all of us that put this together because
So it may not be all inclusive.
it's not all inclusive.
But
yeah.
these are the people that we actually know for a fact.
So Morgan Dawson was the 24-year-old that put this together. Cami, and I might butcher some of these names, so I apologize to everybody. Cami Boscus, me and Russ, Sarah Sullivan, she was a singer. Jordan Solomon, he's a young kid who met me out here while the Tom Cotton podcast was going on Thursday night, and we went over our sound system to do a check, so I had to miss part of that. Brittany Curtis, Jody Hurst, Brady Harris, Taylor Eaton, Jason Nazarenko, Pastor Cameron Ross, Pastor Ted Rogers, which I had a good conversation with afterwards that I would like to talk about a little. David Taylor, who I reached out to. David's, one of the younger people. We tried getting as many young people as we could. We reached out to the college, to Turning Point at the college, but the kid who ran that, he was out of town. So we failed in different areas of trying to get some more younger people involved, but, that's just the way it goes. David helped out a lot. He's a good promoter online.
And he also served as the MC.
And he served as the MC. Paige Evans, Seth Evans, Tiffany and Tommy Wilson, Sarah Jackson, Rick Pegler, Elizabeth, Luna, and Grace, and gracefully made banners. Lena Stokesbury, Richard Castor, Jody Moore, Melinda Moore, Carrie Wilson, Robert and Lana Westbrook, Tammy Sherrod, Lauren Reynolds. And thanks, guys, because I didn't do a count right there on how many it took, but that list right there made this happen. All those people, and I know there's more people involved in than just that.
We know for a fact Lisa House gave us contributed
Lisa House, yes.
a ton of ice to fill up all the ice
water,
chests for the
all
water.
kinds of stuff. Just with that being said, and still, I mean, we had no idea how many people were going to come out. So my sound system is okay, and actually it was mediocre for it. We had a lot of sound issues in the beginning. A lot of people were mad, and we explained, we just threw this together in 4 days, 4.5 days, 3.5 days. Yeah. So anyways.
And there was a lot of participation on stage,
Well,
with the likes of Jason Nazarenko
So I'm not even done there. So
others.
people in the Baxter County Republican Committee, I mean, you were there, manning a table. Chris was there doing stuff. So there's a lot of people I'm gonna forget about.
Yep, that happens.
But yeah.
And Jason, I thought you did a wonderful job in your message up there. You're certainly to be commended for. I don't know whether you were considered the keynote speaker or not, but that was certainly a keynote address that you gave.
Well, I thank you, Russ, but I don't take any accolades for that at all. I give all the glory to God. And like you said, there is tons and tons of people that put that together, and for a well-deserved man. I mean, Charlie Kirk was a great man. He'll be sorely missed, but his memory will live on. He has made history for sure, and Mountain Home, Arkansas, Baxter County has also made history by commemorating him, memorializing him, and showing our respects for him. So thank you for all your part in putting this on. Baxter County really showed out for that. It did a great, great job.
Well, and his message will now, kind of go back to World War II statement there. His message will live in infamy.
Mm-hmm.
It will go down in history, and it has now been magnified by tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, probably millions.
That's right.
Not just in this country, but across the globe.
That's right. And I mean, you're seeing, because you see certain, left side and you see liberals talking about, he's a Nazi, he's this, he's that. Well, what that does is it creates the need for people to go out and seek out the truth. And so what they do is they, instead of just watch a little snippet that somebody will put online, they'll go out and listen to the entire podcast. There are people that have put in hours, 50 plus hours of just listening to Charlie Kirk. And what they see is that what somebody did is pulled a snippet out of what he said. But when you watch the entire thing or listen to the entire thing, he speaks the truth. And like Russ, what you mentioned there, I really spoke that night on what Charlie always wanted to be remembered for. He wanted to be remembered for his love for Christ and his Savior. But when I said he spoke the truth, Charlie spoke the truth in everything he did. If you listen to his podcast, if he was talking about politics, he wasn't talking about his feelings. He was talking the truth. He was so smart. He could give statistics like you would not believe, and those statistics were the truth. They were proven. You could go back to any manual, any book, and you find that those were legitimate numbers and not just made up or pulled out of thin air.
I heard on the radio this afternoon, Larry Arnn, the president of Hillsdale College, was talking, and when he first met Charlie asked him, he said, well, what do I have to do? And he told him, you have to suffer.
You have to suffer.
And
That's
Charlie
right.
said, what do you mean suffer? He said, you have to suffer. You have to go through the pains of learning. So to make a long story short, Charlie completed 31 of Hillsdale College's online courses. Everything from the Bible to American history to the classics of literature. He completed 31 of them on his own.
That's right.
So he was literally a fountain of knowledge, far beyond what most 31-year-olds are. And he
Definitely,
could
without a doubt. And I mean, he spoke it. He believed it. And when he was out there on the college campuses, he was there because he knew that those folks were getting filled with misinformation or disinformation. They were getting indoctrinated by one agenda, and that's only it. So he wanted them to have the truth in front of them. He wanted to challenge them. It wasn't in a negative way that he was doing that. It was because he wanted that truth to come out. He wanted them to see that and understand it, and then have them seek it out for themselves. And he
and was
he
never
accomplished that.
adversarial.
Never.
Was never adversarial. And I found it interesting yesterday. Robert Kennedy said he gave his opponents the loudest microphone.
He did. He sure did.
Very interesting.
Yep. And I
Very
mean, you think about that. You know, he had a great platform, and I mean that platform is still alive and well. TPU USA is incredible, and that's exactly what he was doing. He was giving Turning Point's microphone to what most would say the enemy, to the adversary. He would give it to them so that they could have any question that they wanted, and he was opening himself up for anything. So
and
great
could
job.
quote and could quote from the Old Testament, the New Testament, and every verse of scripture he quoted was absolutely spot on, pertinent to what the discussion was.
That's
And
right.
it's like he virtually had the Bible memorized, as well as American history, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and it's like so much. It's like how did he get all of that knowledge and wisdom in such a short period of time? He had to have had an IQ that was off the charts because, I mean, he just absorbed
He
knowledge.
did a lot of suffering.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Hey, Jason, I don't know if you heard. Undoubtedly you heard about the U.S. House of Representatives that tried to do a moment of silence. And did you hear about that incident?
I sure did. I sure did, and man, I mean, that right there spoke a little bit about that that night. That is uh, that's pretty pitiful when we've got folks that are so evil, and I'll say they're evil. There's
I
folks that are
agree.
so evil that would boo hiss and say something negative. That to me shows how that misinformation or that disinformation, how it just floats around, because those folks, if they would actually take the time and listen to Charlie Kirk, the entirety of his message, they would see that the evilness that they were spewing was wrong. It is not accurate. They're not speaking the truth. They're just following some rhetoric that's being shoved down their throat, and they're just parroting it.
Do you,
So pretty
do you
pitiful.
think um, have you heard anything similar to that in Little Rock, or is it appropriate to have a similar?
It is. It is nothing like that in Little Rock. That's one of the things that I am very glad. We are a very conservative state. Now, is that to say, obviously, and I don't know the exact numbers left and right, how many Republicans, how many Democrats are in the House. Heavily Republican, heavily conservative. And I will tell you that even some of the Democrats are conservative. Nothing like that would ever happen on the floor. They would not hiss or be negative. Now, that to say, would they vote for something in favor of it? You probably would not get 100 votes. You would either get some folks to have a present or a nay, on the left side, but they would not hiss, they would not boo, because they do, they would be respectful of human life,
Awesome.
unlike those people, those evil people that are elsewhere.
Well, when you're worshiping Satan and someone's talking bad about Satan, they're going to stand up for Satan, and that's exactly what they're doing.
That's right. Hmm.
But
That's right.
I heard a young lady was talking today, and she said I had lived that life for years in the LGBT, the whole drugs, the whole everything. And she said, I kept hearing about Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk. So she said, I sat down one day, and like you said, I don't know if it's the same one. She said, I listened to over 50 hours straight of what he said. She said, today, I'm a mother of 3. I'm married, a mother of 3. I'm a Christian, and I'm following Jesus. I'm a stay-at-home mom so that I can raise my children the way Charlie told us to. So it's that type of message that resonated with so many.
That's right. And the thing about Charlie, because I was actually at a Bible study this morning, early in the morning in Cotter before I rolled out, and heard one gentleman say, he wasn't against Charlie, but he didn't want to keep watching because he didn't want to idolize Charlie. Charlie didn't want to be idolized either. That wasn't his intent. His intent was always to have the focus on Christ, and that's where he knew that the focus should be. So I commend him for that. He just wanted the truth to be out there for folks to find.
So the question is now, where does a movement like that go from here?
Well, Turning Point USA, at last count I heard today, had received over 62,000 requests for new chapters.
Yeah. Which hopefully we can guide a chapter from happening here. I had talked with that night when this was ending and we were packing up. I talked with Pastor Tad Rogers and had a discussion with him how I had a thought on how something like this could work here, because it has to be our churches and politics combined. And that's a hard thing. I mean, in the past, a lot of churches don't want to get involved in politics, but this movement is about that. And this movement is proving that they really need to step up, and and I'm calling them out right now, that they do need to step up. They need to get involved. They need to get their youth together, and not just at one church, but maybe all of them combined to make this happen. Because if there's one kid in one church and 3 kids in another and 4 kids in one, they can all take turns having their meetings and doing what they,
I really think the young people are hungry for this stuff. If
Yeah.
somebody would just put it in front of them.
Charlie proved that point.
Yeah,
He absolutely proved that.
It's
Well, he showed them how to not to be insecure about their thoughts and their beliefs. That's what he showed them, and that's a key. That's a hard thing when you're 12, 15, 18-year-old, 20-year-old kid trying to fit in with a bunch of other kids. That's
well, and you're trying to figure a lot of stuff out at that age, and then all of a sudden, boom, the truth shows up.
Yeah.
And that's
that you can have a different opinion than what mainstream's trying to
that's a pretty
choke down your throat.
infectious thing that can happen.
Well, as far as the churches, so many of our churches today have kowtowed to the Johnson Amendment. And for those that don't understand, the Johnson Amendment was enacted. Johnson signed it, but it was passed through Congress, Lyndon Baines Johnson, that said that if you evangelize or politics from the pulpit, you're in danger and you could be stripped of your tax-exempt status. And so many churches today are very scared of tackling that, and pushing that envelope to say, well, I don't know if it's ever been tried in a court of law to see if it is constitutional or not, but so many churches are afraid of it. The good thing is if you had events similar to Friday night outside of the church, Johnson Amendment doesn't apply one iota, because that's a public event outside of a church. So maybe that's where we can start educating our youngsters, our young people, into both the political and the Christianity side of it. Because if we had more Christian politicians, we would have a whole lot less, I'd say, corrupt laws and corrupt politicians in Congress, Senate, or wherever.
I'd like to see a church challenge that, because I think there would be a backlash.
Well, I don't think it is something that's going to be in one church here, and the vision I have, it won't. I don't think the long range goal would work if one church just did it. I think it has to be a conglomeration of a lot of churches, and they don't even have to. They can just say, "Hey, look at," to their congregation. This is happening here. If you'd like your kids to be involved, you know, in 3 months there'll be a meeting at our church at this day, and then it's going to be at First Baptist the next time, and you know, Church of Christ the next time. I mean, they're all in for it. I mean, that's what they need to do. They need to pull together and an all for one thing.
They have to pull their egos, individual egos aside and say, this is for the children, for the youngsters, and show them, just like Charlie did, the Bible. Yeah, most all of us interpret different scriptures differently. However, there's a way that you can just teach the basic precepts of Christianity to young people that may not have heard it yet.
So
What's your take there, Jason?
Well, I think you guys hit on a quite a few really good main points, and you know, we talk about main points. If you look across the board at Christianity, and especially in our area, you know, we've got, you know, a ton of great Bible preaching, Bible believing churches, and you know, the key thing is you've got to keep the main thing in Christianity. When you start really getting into the weeds on the divisive items, the ones that people might not agree about, you know, how long should your dress be? How long should your hair be? You know, should you have a cap on your head when you're praying? You know, those little things, that's not what's going to cause you to, you know, not become a Christian or have not be able to get into heaven. And if you look at the Bible and you break it down, and I read a few of those scriptures that night, when you look at those scriptures and you say see what the truth says about, you know, how to get into heaven, all of those churches, I'll say the majority of our churches that we have locally, they all are based on those same main biblical principles. And so when you keep the main thing, you're set up for success. And, you know, to your point, so Turning Point USA has got two different kind of sections. They've got a normal Turning Point that sets up at college areas, and then there's Turning Point Faith. And right now in our area, we've got at least one of each. So ASU Mountain Home has a Turning Point set up. And then there's Turning Point Faith right now that I know about set up at Twin Lakes Baptist Church on 9 a.m. They had their first meeting the other day, and they already had nine youngsters or teenagers. And then at the church service, there was even a couple more that once they heard about it, they showed up to find out more information. So, and I like Jay's thought as well, because sometimes if we have it stuck to, and Jay and I have talked about this, if it sticks with one church, then some folks may feel like, hey, I don't want the kids to go there. But I'll tell you, you know, the youth kind of migrate around. 1990s, when I was in high school, I started out in our churches here in youth group, and I started out in Twin Lakes Baptist Church. Back then, that's where the largest youth group was at. And then over the years, it's kind of moved around. I think right now, probably your largest concentration of youth could probably be over at like Real Life or at Eastside or First Baptist. All have very good, strong, you know, youth groups. So if we could all just work together, get those Bible believing, Bible preaching churches to work together and just say, let's get all of these youth together on a trip, because I know that's possible. When I was young in 1990s, my father and I went on a men's conference, and we went with First Baptist. You know, folks from Twin Lakes jumped on a bus with First Baptist and headed out to, I think, Little Rock, if I'm not mistaken, to that men's conference. So it is possible to work together. We got to break down the walls between those churches, keep the main thing, and that's to get that message out for those youth so that they can be, they can learn the truth, because they're our future. And we need to make sure that they've got those good biblical principles to stay grounded.
I would just hate to see it die if you know, and I saw that about, was it Twin Lakes promoting that? Is that?
Yeah, Twin Lakes has got one 9 a.m. On Sunday mornings.
Yeah, I respect and I appreciate the fact that they're doing it. The time. If I had a kid, and you know, I go to Cumberland Presbyterian, and we've got some good kids there. I mean, one that's already led one of our services, and he's probably 12 years old. You know,
That's
and,
great.
And I talked to his dad the other Sunday after church, and he said, yeah, he'd probably be interested, to keep him. But 9 o'clock's a really weird time to take your kid to another church and then bring them back
Right.
to your service. That's
Right.
all my concern is. And I would love to
Yeah.
see it where each church just takes their turn having it each week or each month or whatever it is, so that they all do get along. I think it has the potential to grow
Yeah.
and prosper, just keep
I think you're right. I think you're right. There's a lot of stuff that they could do to work together. It'd be great if they. I like your idea about moving around church to church. The only problem I see with that, and that's just something that they need to work on, is you want it to be consistent. You don't want to have like a new, youth try to figure out where it's going to be held. So if if the churches could talk about it and figure out
Yes,
one
the
place.
churches need to get together, and maybe
Yeah,
there's a
I
way to,
agree.
that's what I talked to Tad about, was maybe he could, because they do meet, the pastors meet a lot, and,
do.
and maybe they can sit there and talk and work that out. And, this week it's at First Baptist, this week it's at Church of Christ, the next week and it just changes. But, just that would be up to them to do. And hopefully they can have a good vision and make this succeed for the future of this area.
Sounds to me like a perfect use for the new convention center or whatever it's going to be out on the west side of town here. Everybody comes there. And
Russ may be onto something.
It's a vanilla. It's not any particular denomination, any particular church. It's all the youth come there, and once it's finished. Number one, it could be a win-win-win for everybody, because it gets them used to going to that venue, going down to there. So, and people, the more people get used to going there, the more they'll use it, and it gives them hopefully a good spot, that everybody can get together. And I believe it'll have plenty of room.
That's a great idea. Really good.
Presumably, these kids all know each other anyway, so it could be made into something pretty fun. And
Yeah, at a time that works for them, and even if people from Flippin or Cotter or Gassville or Jeep or wherever else want to go through,
Right.
Because give them time to get in and do whatever they got to do, whatever. That's
make
up to them to figure out the details. But yeah, I mean, the opportunity's there. It is the right moment for it to start, and if they wait too long, and they just it may just fade away.
Maybe we need to, I don't know, if maybe the pastors could all get together and basically just come up with a charter for North Central Arkansas, Baxter County, something, make it as inclusive as possible, but have a charter and kind of set the ground rules. So, okay, here's how it's focused on the children. It's not focused on any particular aspect of your church or whatever denomination. It's focused on the children, and it's focused on the basic precepts of Christianity. And from there, it can grow, but you got to start with the basics.
and the time is right now, for sure.
Well, you can't you've got a certain amount of momentum. You've got a very short period of time to capitalize on that momentum, because that momentum is fleeting.
Yeah.
Well,
That's right.
take a look at the overview of all this. First of all, if you're a person listening to this podcast and you're interested in futuristically helping out when a call comes like this, leave a message on our Facebook page, Baxter County Republican Committee, and we'll be able to reach out to you if something like this comes up, because like I said, Monday to Friday, 3.5 days that we did this in, and yes, it wasn't perfect. There was a lot of mistakes we made just because it was just a group of people that winged it and threw it together. And we would sure appreciate it if you could, if there's other people who step up and to lend a hand when things are in need.
And for those that signed up, at the venue Friday night, I had put some sign-up sheets out, and asked people if you would like to be notified of future events. And we got almost 300 signatures. Before finally, we just had to shut it down because the line just kept backing up, and we needed to get the people inside the venue. But for those people, I'll be working to put that into a database so that we can come up with a mailing list and be able to notify you next time, we do have one of these events, so that we can get the word out even better next time.
Yeah, and just on a side note, come to Baxter County Republican Committee meetings, and you're going to know about all this stuff.
Well, they didn't
Get
know
involved.
about it either. It happened in 3.5 days.
Yeah, but you'll be in contact with people like us, and you.
And if you get on our Facebook page, because we did post it on there a lot, but this was an exception, and things like this do pop up.
But I'm talking about the other stuff we're talking about
Yes,
too.
yeah,
not-
yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah.
just.
Yeah, we
quick
do want
events.
we do want to start looking at other events out here in the future, and say we know now that there's a hunger for the political and the religious aspects that were demonstrated Friday night. We recognize now there is a distinct hunger for that type of event in Mountain Home, Baxter County, surrounding areas. So we will be looking at putting on some events in the future. We're not certain when or what, but we're going to look at that, and we'll certainly let you know when it's well in advance. a lot.
We'll try to anyway.
Yeah, a lot further advance notice. I noticed one gentleman's comment on one of the Facebooks there was more advertisement next time. So I'm hoping he meant give us better notice.
Yeah, well, I think for the short period of time we had to deal with, we did pretty.
Yeah, it turned out great. I
say we,
everything
but-
was great.
Not me so much. Morgan, you guys.
Well, everybody helped out in different ways. That's the whole point. I mean, had we had more people at the door, signing people, doing whatever, anything and everything, it's easier to organize it, and more people to reach out to. It's just,
yeah.
It is what it is. It was a great turnout. We appreciate every single person that showed up Friday night, and we hope you enjoyed it to the fullest and got a great message from it. And with all of that, I think we ought to kind of wrap it up on such a high note.
Okay, I agree with that. And so for starters, I'd like to say thanks to Jason for joining us. We hope to see you back here more.
he'll be back next week.
All right.
We're taking up all this time.
Come on once a week. That'll
So
work.
we have the follow up on the Tom Cotton
Town
town hall. Sorry, so we're gonna have a discussion, all the questions next week with Stetson Painter and Jason Nazarenko, Chris Chamberlain and Russ, and we're gonna go over how that everything, all the different people ask questions, everything.
Okay, well, again, I'll say thank you to Jason and Russ and Jay for today, and those in the background running the camera, Dave. Who else is here? I don't know. Oh,
Gary.
Gary. Is he still
Gary
here?
Maupin, he left already.
But anyway, few little quick notes. Quorum Court meets first Tuesday, 5:30 p.m. Baxter County, first Tuesday each month. City Council meets first and third Thursday, or is that right? Yes. 5 p.m. at City Hall. City Planning Committee, second Monday each month, 1 p.m. at City Hall. County Planning Committee, second Tuesday, 11 a.m., Baxter County Courthouse. A&P, third Thursday, 3 p.m., City Hall. School Board is third Thursday at the Administration Building, I believe, on Rodeo Drive. Public Safety Committee, I'm not sure when that meets.
So basically, nobody can work. They just got to go to all the meetings.
Go to some. Go to some. Show up. Find your passion and participate in that one. And to me, one of the most important is Baxter County Republican Committee. Last Tuesday each month at 6 p.m. at the VFW in Mountain Home. Come and visit us. No commitment necessary to show up.
Kids are welcome if you want to bring your kids. It's in the VFW hall where they have the bingo side of it. And
Come and see what we're doing. It's you
come
might
out and help
find-
make a difference in your community.
You might find you want to come back. Again, thanks everybody. That's it. Good night.
Sayonara.
Thank you.
Put that on top of yours so I don't take it.
Leave it on the table.
Yeah. All right.
So I counted while we were doing that, 29 people here helping out, plus the other people. So and it still wasn't enough. Just saying. There still could have been a million things more. I mean, it was good. Don't
Yeah,
get me
Well,
wrong.
it